The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
The list of medicines subject to the reference price has been extended, with the price ceiling now set for over 5,000 medicines, according to the Ministry of Health. In November, the income from trailers toll roads decreased. Last month, 42,799 trailers used Georgian roads and paid more than 14.9 million lari to the budget, although this is the lowest rate since April. As of 11 months, Georgia received a record income from the trailers toll fee. On December 2023, the Monetary Policy Committee of the National Bank of Georgia decided to reduce the monetary policy rate by 0.5 percentage points. The monetary policy rate stands at 9.5%. Subsequently, as of November 1st, 2023, 186,416 loans tied to a variable interest rate have been issued, and the vast majority of them are tied to the refinancing rate, so their monthly rate on the loan will be reduced. Traffic of high-capacity vehicles will be restricted on selected streets in the Georgian capital city of Tbilisi during peak hours on workdays to alleviate traffic jams starting January 1st, Tbilisi Mayor Kahak Aladze said on Wednesday. Access will be restricted to M3, N2 and N3 category vehicles between 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., Aladze said, adding the restrictions would not affect weekends, holidays and the month of August. This is the last Checkpoints of the year. I'm Eleni Kvanchilashvili, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up business and economics week for you. In its recent report, IFC identifies two sectors, renewable energy and transport and logistics, offering additional short-term opportunities for accelerated market creation and relatively large potential for economy-wide development impact. According to IFC, Georgia has substantial undeveloped renewable energy potential. The country has an estimated potential of 11.8 gigawatts of hydropower, 1.4 gigawatts of wind power, and 1.5 gigawatts of solar power capacity. The target is to increase the share of renewable energy in its energy mix to 27.5% by 2030 from the current level of about 20%. Such expansion in renewable generation is expected to take place against the background of the overall rapid growth in total installed power capacity from the current 4.6 gigawatts to 9.7 gigawatts in 2030. Georgia's power generation is currently dominated by hydropower and natural gas. Hydropower accounted for 74% and thermal plants for 26% of the total installed capacity in 2021. Due to the strong reliance on hydropower, the availability of electricity is highly dependent on weather conditions and characterized by seasonal variations. During the winter, Georgia relies on imported electricity and natural gas for thermal power plants to meet demand. The average cost of imports increased from USD 0.53 per kilowatt hour in 2012 to USD 0.08 per kilowatt hour in 2022, higher than the levelized cost of energy that could be generated in Georgia on the basis of modern wind, solar and hydropower technologies. Energy poverty is a problem in Georgia, according to IFC. Even though the government subsidizes natural gas for electricity production and household consumption, household expenditure on natural gas is among the highest in the Europe and Central Asia region. The electricity demand supply gas has been increasing since 2011. Electricity demand has increased steadily by an average of 4.2% per year since 2011, driven by average average economic growth of 5.6%, while electricity production has grown at an average rate of 2.3%. The development of new renewable power has stalled since 2017, largely because of communities' resistance to new hydropower projects. In 2017, following advice from the International Monetary Fund on the financial risks to Georgia's budget, the government of Georgia suspended the signing of new power purchase agreements, PPAs, with private investors. This change significantly weakened the project pipeline. Among new projects, only small-scale power plants have been able to secure full financing and move to the implementation stage, says IFC. At the same time, strong environmental and social concerns from communities and non-governmental organizations have halted the construction of several previously agreed-on hydropower projects. The government of Georgia has been promoting power sector reforms as part of its association agreement with the European Union and within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This focus led to the adoption of key pieces of legislation and national programs, including the 2019 law promotion of the use of energy from renewable sources. A key building block in the government of Georgia's renewable energy strategy is the newly launched Contract for Differences support plan for renewable energy projects. The new plan was introduced to unlock domestic R&D potential by facilitating access to finance through addressing the risks associated with the high initial costs of renewable energy and unstable market conditions in the sector. The plan is based on competitive capacity auctions, and the first auction for 300 megawatts was launched on February 10, 2023. As part of the renewable energy sector assessment, a special survey of private investors and financiers was administered to identify the private sector's perspective on existing gaps and barriers, IFC says, to renewable energy development in Georgia. The survey respondents were generally satisfied with their prior investment experience in Georgia's power sector. They plan to continue investing in energy in the South Caucasus region in the next 3 years. The key incentives for investors derive from the country's encouraging investment climate. IFC says untapped energy resources, steady growth in demand for electricity, existing support plan for renewable energy, CFD, and the possibility of exporting electricity to higher price markets. Small and medium hydro plants and utility-scale solars are identified as subsectors that are ready for private investment in Georgia. Hydropower has an established track record, mature technology, and sufficient local technical expertise. Utility-scale solar farms are regarded as more attractive for investing versus other types of renewable energy because of less social and environmental opposition. Investors see environmental and social challenges and policy and regulatory uncertainty as the main sources of the risk to renewable energy investment in Georgia. IFC says this belief results in higher costs of financing and elevated risks of projects being suspended during implementation. The second sector is transport and logistics. IFC believes Georgia is in a strategic location serving as the gateway to the Caucasus and Central Asia and aspires to become a regional hub. Georgia needs to develop its transport infrastructure and improve and modernize its logistics infrastructure and services, particularly those related to agriculture, to realize its potential and increase its participation in global value chains. In doing so, the country will need to identify areas where the private sector can enhance operational performance and stimulate economic growth, according to IFC. The 2023 National Transport and Logistics Strategy and related 2023-24 Action Plan aim to position the country as a regional logistics and transport hub. Georgia's role in the international transit logistics system is largely driven by the performance of the Middle Corridor, a multimodal transport network that connects Central Asia, the Caucasus, and Europe via the Caspian and Black Seas. The MC's performance is undermined by high costs and lengthy transportation and transit times, which until recently did not look attractive compared with the available alternatives such as the Northern Trade Corridor, says IFC's analysis. However, the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and the effects of Russia's invasion of Ukraine have enabled the EMC to emerge as a viable option for diversified transport routes connecting China with Europe and Central Asia with the global economy. Various physical and non-physical bottlenecks should be addressed in the short to medium term, IFC says, to secure a sustainable competitive position of the EMC road. The Middle Corridor will have to improve its operational effectiveness to fulfill its potential and capture additional growth opportunities in energy and mining. Georgia has traditionally lagged in logistics, IFC says, although it should be noted that recent improvements have been the country rise in the World Bank Logistics Performance Index from 119th in 2018 to 79th in 2023. Capacity limits in the Caspian Sea ports and ferries are the most significant bottleneck for the movement of containerized cargo along the Middle Corridor, and bulk handling capacity of the Georgian seaports requires additional handling equipment and storage space, according to IFC. The government of Georgia has encouraged the private sector to develop a new deep-water port at Anaklia on the Black Sea to address these port bottlenecks, IFC adds. The government of Georgia is in negotiations to expand the port of Poti. In addition, progress has been already achieved in strengthening the EMC, according to IFC, by improving infrastructure capacity, simplifying railway procedures, establishing integrated services, and providing competitive tariffs. To build on this progress, and in addition to investments in port infrastructure, further regulatory coordination is needed between intermodal services among the Middle Corridor. Developing the Middle Corridor will also support the integration of Georgia's agriculture into the global economy alongside further investments in agricultural logistics infrastructure. According to IFC, a modernized, scaled agricultural logistics network is key to improving the efficiency of agricultural production and upgrading the market for agricultural products. The development and enforcement of food safety and packaging standards is another critical prerequisite for realizing Georgia's agricultural potential, IFC believes. This objective will require improvements in farmers' capacity to meet downstream market standards, to supply processing and trading companies, for which public support should be provided by the Ministry of Environmental Protection and Agriculture, IFC says. Improving Georgia's inland logistics services through investment in third-party logistics facilities is also required to improve value chain efficiency and reduce transit times. The logistics market in the country is currently dominated by second-party logistics companies with limited services and low efficiency levels, is beset by fragmented and dated warehousing facilities and lacks proper regulation, IFC says. The government of Georgia has assessed the potential for the Tbilisi Integrated Logistics Center project at Kumisi, southeast of Tbilisi, including the development of a dry port and 3PL facilities. The TILC has a high potential to handle Georgian gateway volumes, IFC says, moderate potential for transit volumes for Azerbaijan and Armenia, and limited potential for MC transit containers. The government of Georgia is expected to finance the common infrastructure that is needed for the TILC, and the private sector will finance the TILC's facilities. Additional financing could be obtained through a variety of sources, IFC says, including from international finance institutions, which may facilitate or leverage private sector participation. IFC has recommendations for boosting the potential of both these sectors. For the renewable energy sector, it highlights the need for three core prerequisites to foster private sector investments: a clear and reliable policy, regulatory and permitting framework for renewable energy investments, sustainable incentive schemes, cost-reflective and consumer pricing. According to IFC, the government of Georgia has taken steps in this direction, launching a first round of renewable energy auctions, preparing to open a competitive wholesale market, and identifying social and environmental mitigation measures to back up renewable energy development. In addition to continued reforms to improve the investment framework, this effort will require investments in transmission infrastructure and regional interconnections of the power grid, including the Black Sea submarine interconnector, to provide the reliability and stability of renewable energy supply and to ensure the readiness of the electricity grid to handle larger amounts of renewable energy, IFC says. As for transport and logistics, IFC recommends prioritizing the development of logistics infrastructure for agricultural value chains that would provide additional opportunities for public-private partnership-based investments, especially in establishing agro-logistics hubs. Furthermore, to promote private investment in downstream agribusiness, the report highlights the importance of farmers' capacity to meet market standards. Because farmer capacity is an important enabling factor for investment mobilization, this area should receive targeted public support, IFC says. Beyond agricultural logistics, the CPSD identifies numerous market niches in the sector that present business opportunities for private investors, including the development of Class A warehousing, 3PL operations, railway car financing, and rail terminal operations. What else was new in the economy this week? Here is our weekly news and outlook.
In the last 11 years, poverty has actually been halved compared to 2012. More than 500,000 people got out of poverty, Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili, said while presenting the 2023 report. According to the head of the government, the level of unemployment has decreased to a historic minimum to 17%. In the last 11 years, poverty has actually been halved compared to 2012. More than 500,000 people got out of poverty. This is another concrete result of the Georgian Dream government. The number of jobs in the business sector in 2022 compared to 2012 increased by 1.5 times. The number of jobs in the business sector also increased in the third quarter of this year. The number of business entities in 2022 compared to 2012 increased by 71% from 119,000 to 205,000, said Irakli Garibashvili. The exports from Georgia exceeded $5 billion in January-November 2023, up by 11.1% higher compared to the same period of the previous year, according to the preliminary data from the National Statistics Office of Georgia. The imports stood at $14 billion. The negative trade balance was $8 billion in January-November 2023, and its share in external trade turnover constituted 43.1%. In January-November 2023, the share of top 10 trading partners by exports in the total exports of Georgia amounted to 80.5%. The top partners were Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Kazakhstan. In January-November 2023, the share of the top 10 trading partners by imports in the total imports of Georgia amounted to 70.6%. The top partners were Turkey, USA, and Russia. In January-November 2023, the share of top 10 trading partners in the total external trade turnover of Georgia amounted to 68.6%. The top trading partners were Turkey, Russia, and USA. In January-November 2023, motor cars claimed the first place in the list of top export items, equaling $1.9 million. The exports of cuprous and concentrates totaled to $472 million, and their share in the total exports amounted to 8.5%. The exports of wine of fresh grapes occupied the third place, standing at $240 million and constituting 4.3% of total exports. The top import commodities in January-November 2023 were motor cars, whose imports equaled $2 million. The petroleum and petroleum oils followed in the list with $1 million. The medications put up in measured doses were third in the top import commodities list with $489 million. The Georgian President Salome Zurabishvili met with Javier Colomina, NATO's Secretary General Special Representative for Caucasus and Central Asia. The discussion covered topics such as the country's Euro-Atlantic integration, Georgia's candidacy for EU membership, NATO-Georgia relations, and upcoming 2024 elections in Georgia. Javier Colomina congratulated President Zurabishvili on Georgia's recent achievement of being granted the EU candidate status. He introduced the significance of the active involvement of state institutions in European integration and stressed the importance of implementing institutions and democratic reforms. The meeting acknowledged notes the upcoming parliamentary elections as crucial for Georgia, emphasizing the need for a democratic and fair election environment. Javier Colomina reiterated his unwavering support for Georgia's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The president briefed the guests on ongoing challenges related to the occupation, including the murders of Georgian citizens and human rights violations, urging a strict response from the international community. The winter season for 2023 officially opened in Godauri last week. Deputy Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development Mariam Krivishvili declared at the opening ceremony that their expectations were positive for the winter season. We have very positive expectations for current winter season due to the successful tourist season that our country has already had. Georgia has a consistent policy for strengthening and developing the tourist industry based on two main foundations. The first involves the creation of a mountain ski infrastructure. As you know, since 2012, the Georgian government has invested more than 800 million lari in the development of the infrastructure of mountain and ski resorts. We have 28 new ropeway complexes and more than 40 kilometers of artificial snow tracks. On the other hand, we see that investments from the private sector are growing, especially in accommodation facilities, and it's good that today there are more than 2,200 accommodation facilities in Godauri, which increases employment opportunities in the mountainous region, said Mariam Krivishvili. The Georgian Health Ministry on Tuesday said large pharmacy companies artificially increasing prices on medicines not yet covered by reference price policy was unacceptable. The ministry said the medicines were being sold with 3,000, 2,000 and 1,000 present price increase, 32 times more expensive compared to their import prices, and noted the drugs had almost the same price in large pharmacy chains. It added the effects of excessive pricing and price collusion raised reasonable suspicions there had been an unfair agreement between the companies and importer use of dominant market positions. The body said this sector was harming citizens with the unfair price and unhealthy competition, and added it would submit all the necessary documentations to National Competition Agency to study the issue. It further explained the government would set fair reference prices on medicines to prohibit their sale with increased prices. This year, we will have record revenues from the tourist sector. Our expectations is that it will be more than $4 billion USD. We will have more than 6 million visitors in Georgia, the Vice Prime Minister of Georgia, Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, Levan Davitashvili, said at the opening of ski season. As the minister noted, everything is being done for tourist sector to develop dynamically. I want to tell you that this year we will have record revenues from the tourist sector. Our expectations is that it will be more than $4 billion USD. We will have more than 6 million visitors in Georgia. It's very encouraging that after the coronavirus pandemic, we managed not only to restore the tourist sector, but year after year we see that we have a significant improvement in dynamics, the minister said. Traffic of high-capacity vehicles will be restricted on select streets in Georgian capital city of Tbilisi during peak hours on work days to alternative traffic jams starting January 1, Tbilisi Mayor Kakakaladze said on Wednesday. Access will be restricted to M3, N2 and N3 category vehicles between 8 a.m., 11 a.m. and 5 p.m., 8 p.m., Kaladze said, adding the restriction wouldn't affect weekends, holidays, and the month of August. He also said traffic will be closed only in areas of the city where large flow during peak hours was observed to be causing difficulties. The mayor clarified the regulation would not apply to public and emergency transport, municipal and state infrastructure vehicles, vehicles used for transport of students and for tourists, as well as those used for operational and search needs and cement trucks. Additionally, vehicles carrying petroleum products and store distribution vehicles will be allowed access between 8 a.m. 11 a.m. The two categories will be benefit from the exemption until September 1. Kaladze added violations of the regulations would be subject to a 1,000 lari fine for the first time and 3,000 lari for repeat offenses.
The Middle Corridor, MC, is a multimodal transport corridor, as we have mentioned, connecting China to Europe, which has been receiving elevated attention following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The MC links China and Kazakhstan to rail through Dostik or Khorgos Altinkhol, crosses Kazakhstan by rail to the Aktau port, crosses the Caspian Sea to the port of Baku, Aliyat, and Azerbaijan and Georgia by rail to then either continue by rail to Europe through Turkey or crossing the Black Sea. Due to inefficiencies and infrastructure gaps in Turkey, the Black Sea road is currently preferred by operators. The World Bank's recent report focuses on the road traversing Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan and Georgia. A subsequent study will focus on Turkey. The MC, with its numerous border crossings, transshipments between modes and operational inefficiencies, takes 3 times longer than the northern road via Russia and is comparable in duration to the maritime road. As a result, it has consequently held a lower priority for long-distance trade. According to the World Bank, the 5 main messages are as follows. Reimagine the Middle Corridor as an economic corridor. The main conclusion of this report is that the base demand of the MC is endogenous, generated within the corridor countries. As such, the MC has great potential to evolve as an economic corridor with synergies between connectivity improvements and inherent economic potential in the zones through which the corridor passes, which in turn incentives further improvements. The development of an economic corridor has several requirements, the foremost of which is the adoption of an institutional mechanism that transcords country boundaries and is empowered to develop, effectively promote and maximize utilization of the corridor as an integrated trade route and economic region. Offer corridor lengths logistics solutions. One source of early gains in connectivity can be obtained by offering seamless operations along the corridor, according to the World Bank's report. That requires that service providers of the corridor countries prioritize reliability and predictability of operations and logistics services, offer transparency in terms of tariffs, and develop facilities to consolidate tariffs so as to maximize gains from scale. The value proposition of corridors is maximized when they handle large volumes of traffic, which in turn helps justify continuous improvements in capacity and quality of services. In addition, it is particularly important to offer end-to-end services, standards, and tariffs as opposed to the current fragmented practices. Reform and simplify processes and procedures. According to the report, as a multimodal corridor, operations on the MC are characterized by several exchanges of traffic data and payments between the operating entities. However, such exchanges can be a source of friction, adding to costs and poor reliability. This report recommends a strong partnership with an international container operator to take charge of container operations as a specific and dynamic category of traffic, and better coordination between border agencies, but especially customs administration, to simplify the processing of goods in transit. Coordination is particularly important between the railways of the 3 countries, as that is a particularly important mode in the corridor transport system. Leverage the potential of digital data flows. According to the report, a major concern of Middle Corridor stakeholders is the limited visibility of shipments on the move and delays due to operational and regulatory controls at the borders or when 2 modes of transport interface. This report recommends digitalization of corridor processes and the exploitation of digital data flows to ensure speedy and accurate sharing of information between services providers and shippers or their agents. It is important to develop a roadmap for implementing a unified, interoperable framework for digital transformation of processes and activities on the Middle Corridor, the report says. Continue to improve infrastructure and equipment along the corridor following a robust prioritization process. Whereas the corridor countries adopted and are implementing a roadmap to continue to expand capacity, this report finds that there are specific elements that should have a higher priority as they pose specific risks. This applies to connectivity between ports and railways, purchase of specific pieces of equipment to improve efficiency, responding to weather conditions that hamper port operations and adapting to the falling level of the Caspian Sea. The operational risks that are caused by high wind speeds can be mitigated by acquiring appropriate equipment. However, the dropping level of the sea may require engineering solutions such as port dredging or the adoption of a new generation of vessels with lower draughts as well. This could also include investments in modern aids to navigation and port vessel traffic management and enhanced procedures for tugboats and pilotage. In Kazakhstan, competing priorities for capacity improvement will require clear transit policy. With such actions, the Middle Corridor can triple its volumes by 2030 compared to 2021, while halving transport times. It is expected that with a careful combination of investments and policy interventions, the MC can to some extent provide economic and geopolitical resilience for the transcontinental trade and can contribute to unlocking the trade and development potential for Central Asia and South Caucasus, providing a reliable road to China, to Europe, and to the globe through access to ports. In 2022, 2,800 complaints submitted disputes to the Tax Dispute Review Board of the Ministry of Finance of Georgia. Companies were litigating 948 million Georgian liras in tax debt. Last year, the board made decisions on 2,600 cases, of which 739 complaints were fully and partially satisfied, 1,552 complaints were refused consideration, and 322 complaints remained unresolved. Our journalist Shotat Kashalashvili spoke to Gela Barshov, the founder of the tax consulting company TP Solution, and talked about the nature of proceedings in the Disputes Council of the Ministry of Finance.
If the Georgian tax authorities impose additional taxes or sanctions on the company, how should the company act in this case?
If after a tax inspection there will be additional tax assessment, sanction assessment on the company has several options to proceed. First, initiate tax dispute process within the Ministry of Finance. Second, appeal directly before the court. Company also can, especially if the chances of winning the case is low, can apply for tax agreement to a Georgia Revenue Service. This is a system under which a company can admit its tax liability and request to grant waiver on penalty and late payment interest. And company also can pay taxes and penalties, especially this may be justifiable, strategically justifiable way if the amount is not so high, it's not proportional to the resources which needs to be sacrificed for other procedures. So according to my personal experience, because I'm involved in tax dispute resolution process for a long time, I'm supporting companies in this process. I can say that in most cases, the most justifiable way is to proceed, start with appealing to the Minister of Finance, to the system of Minister of Finance, because first of all, it takes less time than a court takes, then you do not need to appellation fee. And there is really, it makes sense to make appellation if a company has arguments for it. It's not formalistic tax dispute process. The statistic shows that it's possible to win the case if a company finds arguments for itself. And importantly, if you start tax dispute process within Ministry of Finance, you still remain yourself other possibilities. So it's a court, tax agreement, and paying taxes.
Yes. And what are the different stages and procedures in the system of Ministry of Finance of tax disputes?
So there are two instances, two steps within Ministry of Finance. First instance is Tax Dispute Department of a Georgia Revenue Service. Second instance is Tax Dispute Council of a Ministry of Finance. So when the tax inspection is ended, especially with negative results, the Tax Audit Act and related documents are issued. We have 30 calendar days after receipt of those documents to appeal in the first instance. And after first instance accepts our appellation, they call the representative of a company for the discussion. And discussion can take place offline or online. And sometimes Tax Dispute Council make decision without attending taxpayer, without calling the taxpayer in the discussion. So after the discussion, they issue written decision which can be either fully accepted as appellation, fully rejection of appellation, or partly accepted as appellation. In practice, partly accepted as appellation is in most cases it's such a decision. So partly accepted as appellation means that tax dispute first instance gives directive to the audit department, tax inspectors who made the tax assessment on the company. They give directive and say, please evaluate the case again. If you find enough reasons, please recalculate. So the directive is quite broad and general. That's why sometimes the audit department decides not to recalculate. In this case, we have options. So first, to appeal the decision partly accepted in a second instance, because it was not fully accepted as our appellation, and also appeal the conclusion recalculation, so wrong execution of a decision of a first instance. So within one system, in about one case, we are proceeding in two lines of tax dispute. First line is the appealing the Audit Act, and then decision of a first instance. Second line is appealing the wrong execution of a decision. Yes.
And based on your experience, what can you recommend to companies planning to initiate tax disputes?
Yes, so it's very important to analyze the case before you start the process of tax dispute. It's important that the case is analyzed in depth and objectively, so that the chances of winning case is really objectively assessed. Okay, depending on the chances company have, sometimes may be better to directly apply for tax agreement, right? So assessing the case correctly gives a company possibility to make the correct decision about how to proceed, right? So how to proceed, and sometimes even there is no much chances of winning the principal amount of tax, but there are chances of winning penalty and late payment interest, which are not less amount than a principal amount of tax. So there is a clause, so-called good faith taxpayer clause, 269 article of Georgian tax code, according to which if a taxpayer just made a mistake or it did not pay tax due to lack of knowledge, it's still possible to proceed with tax dispute, but for penalties and late payment interest. So just to sum up, it's important to correctly analyze the case, evaluate the chances, and proceed accordingly. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for your answers.
Thank you, Shotato.
PMC Research published a report, Employment Tracker. According to the document, in November 2023, the number of persons receiving a monthly salary increased by 3.9% compared to the corresponding period of 2022 and by 4.4% compared to the corresponding period of 2021. In November 2023, the share of persons receiving a monthly salary up to 600 lari amounted to 17.7%, which was 3.5 percentage points less than the corresponding period of 2022 and 9.3 percentage points lower than the corresponding period of 2021. In November 2023, the share of persons receiving a monthly salary of 2,400 lari and more amounted to 23.2%, which was 4.7 percentage points more compared to the corresponding period of 2022 and 7.9 percentage points higher than the corresponding period of 2021. In November 2023, the share of persons receiving a monthly salary of 9,600 lari and more amounted to 2%, which was 0.4 percentage points more compared to the corresponding period of 2022 and 0.7 percentage points higher than the corresponding period of 2021. In 2023, from June to November, the total number of vacancies published on jobs.g amounted to 44,936, which was 3.7% higher compared to the corresponding period of 2022. In November 2023, the total number of vacancies published on jobs.g decreased by 9.7% compared to October 2023. In 2023, from June to November, the average year-over-year growth rate of vacancies published on jobs.g was 3.8%, which was 23.9 percentage points lower compared to the corresponding period of 2022. Let us check on business this week. Natia Taktakishvili has more news for you.
Tegeta's new modern multifunctional automobile complex was opened in University Street. This large-scale space is the first in the region which will serve customers with a new concept. In a new comfortable environment, customers can get the full service needed for a vehicle, including electric cars. The complex can serve up to 50 vehicles at the same time and more than 250 vehicles in total during the day. We are glad to host our guests today in the new complex of Tegeta. This car service center is distinguished both by its concept and the amount of investment, which amounts to 60 million lari. We have been in the market for almost 3 decades, and our priority is to make car ownership easier for customers by offering a full range of services. This is the new space in Vake, where we have created more than 100 new jobs. Vakhtang Kacharava, Executive Director of Tegeta Holding, said the opening of the innovative service center was attended by representatives of local authorities, embassies and international organizations, corporate customers, as well as media representatives. Saini is opening a store early in 2024. The store, located in Barnowy Street, will offer its customers a wide selection of both interior and daily use items. Currently, the store is operating online. Nino Slepchenko, the founder of the company, told TV program Women's Narrative. Saini products have a graphic image of Georgian alphabet. Saini also produces lamps, engraved decorative mirrors, dishes, natural stone engraved wall decorations, textiles and others. As for the price of the product, it's aimed at the high-income segment, although there are items that can be purchased by anyone. Since the establishment of the studio, we have invested over 40,000 lari for the business development. At first, Saini only produced decorative porcelain plates, but today we create more than 10 different products, even in the conditions of high competition. Saini has found its niche in the local market, says the founder of Saini. At present, 8 people are employed in the company. Company Saini appeared on the Georgian market in 2015 and offers its customers porcelain dishes, lamps, interior items, ceramic tiles, textiles, jewelry, souvenirs and exclusive gifts, which are made with environmentally friendly materials. Company Magic Factory, founded this year, offers customers Georgian-themed Christmas tree decorations. Christmas collection includes snowball, wine, playing painter, Maharobeli and Georgian state flag. According to the Kati Ratiani, founder of Magic Factory, they are produced in limited editions. The design of Georgian-themed Christmas tree toys is created in Georgia, while the decorations are made in Poland. Talking about the future plans, the director of Magic Factory notes that their aim is to bring the production in the local market. Christmas decorations are made of glass and they are painted by hand. Its production is large quantities is quite difficult and requires a lot of time. That's why we entered the market in a limited edition this year. In the future, we want the project to be fully implemented in Georgia and to be able to produce high-quality toys locally. We are already working on the creation of a glass accessories enterprise, the director added. The price of Magic Factory's Christmas decorations is not low, and they range from 100 lari to 180 lari. Christmas decorations can be purchased online at the stage on the pages of social networks, Facebook and Instagram, as well as valley-store.g, where 5 types of products are placed. Toy manufacturing company Chikotai is adding a new direction, Chikotai Home, from 2024. The founder of the brand, Tamar Buglishvili, spoke about this with TV program Women's Narrative. Based on the demand of the market, we came up with the idea to add the direction of Chikotai Home. This will be linens, carpets, clothes, shelves, storage and holiday candles. We will start with these products first and gradually expand the range, says the entrepreneur. Chikotai is currently working on the creation of a web page where customers can purchase the assortment of Chikotai Home. The products will be made of certified and natural materials. As for the prices, it will be in line with the quality. The price of Chikotai toys starts from 65 lari and reaches 160 lari. Chikotai was established on the Georgian market in 2017 with an investment of 11,000 lari. The company creates toys for children with the special music of Ghia Gancelli. Chagatai team so far consists of 5 people. Valery Checheria, executive director of Rooms Hotel, declares that 2023 was a positive year and expectations for the winter season are even more optimistic. As Checheria mentioned in a conversation with BMWG, granting EU candidate status to Georgia will be a prerequisite for the arrival of many foreign guests and holding of more international conferences. We expect it to be a busy year at winter resorts because we are hosting the World Championships in Bakuriani. We expect that both Gudauri and Ghazbagi will be busy. I am also sure that a better year is coming than it was, although I would still evaluate this year positively, said Valery Checheria. Esma Khalvashi, commercial director of company Kerki, declares that their company offered the New Year's sacks to the market for the first time last year. This year, the demand exceeded expectation. According to her, all the products in the New Year's bag are produced by one company. There is a great demand for dried fruits and churchkhela. We made a New Year's set, and this year we offer even more products to the customers and businesses. We have 2 sizes of bags, so we give the choice to the customers, said Esma Khalvashi. The prices of Kerki New Year's bag range from 37 lari to 60 lari. Kerki Enterprise was launched in 2021 in Ajara, in particular Keda district. Kerki products are sold in Goodwill, Aeroproduct, Waymart, Smart and other chain stores. Irakli Gurciani, the founder of Hotel Gistolo located in Mestia, declares that Svaneti is not a winter resort, and even in summer the hotel occupancy rate only reaches 60%. According to him, the tourist potential of Svaneti will not be fully utilized without the Kutaisi-Mestia tunnel. The current year was not good in terms of tourists. Even June was not busy. An average occupancy rate was only 60% in July, August and September. After that, the tourist flow decreased so much that most of the hotels were closed. Despite we have no guests, we cannot close the hotel because it's very difficult to find the employees again. I don't have high hopes for the new year either. Maybe in the first 10 days the load will be up to 30%. Then there is nothing until the end of April. In short, if the planned tunnel from Kutaisi to Mestia is not built, Svaneti will never become a winter resort. Especially on weekends, there are too many people in Gudauri ski resort. At this time, the region with such great potential is not used, Gurciani said. Winery Kardanahi 1880, located in Gurjani region, is expanding its exporting markets from 2024. As the founder of the company, Malchas Makhoshvilis, told BMWG, they are currently exporting to Italy while negotiations are underway with Belgium, America and China. According to him, the products on the American market are sold in HoReCa sector. Negotiations are underway with distribution companies in Belgium and the products will be sold in chain markets. As for China, it's not known at this stage where the wine will be sold. EU candidate status will have a significant effect on the interest from the exporting markets, while the country will become more reliable and interesting for them, which will ensure competitiveness in the market, Makhoshvili says. Winery Kardanahi 1880 has been located in the village of Kardanahi in Gurjani since 2017, and it's a part of Hotel Ampelo. About 20 types of wine are produced in the winery. The company invested a total of $500,000 USD in winemaking, which was obtained with state grants, including a grant from Enterprise Georgia.
Last week, 500 Georgia inaugurated its 5th batch in Georgia. 10 startups from 4 countries and various industries participated in the acceleration program. Tech-Inform hosts Georgi Aroni and Georgi Tolordava discussed the recent batch and Silicon Valley-based startup accelerator Georgian plans with Pedro Vieira, partner at 500 Global. Let's watch the interview.
Pedro, hi. Thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure to talk about whatever 500 is doing in Georgia.
Kamarjaba, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here and share what we're doing.
Pedro, 500 Georgia has inaugurated its 5th batch. Now let's talk about the batch, and could you share some details about the industries and countries that startups came from?
Kamarjaba, thank you for having me again here. This batch has 10 companies. They come from multiple countries. Georgia, obviously, as always, but also Azerbaijan, Armenia, Kazakhstan, and they cover multiple verticals. We have several AI-based companies, but they serve different industries. So some in education technology, some in the loyalty space, helping people buy with rewards. We also have other companies that are focused on the job market and solutions for employers and employees to find and fill in jobs faster. Other solutions for the hospitality and hotels. Many different mental health. So we also have a digital health company. So we try always to diversify regionally and in terms of verticals, and these 10 are a good example of that.
Pedro, Georgia is a unique case for 500 Global because here you're partnering with one of the biggest commercial banks, Bank of Georgia, and the government through GITA, the Georgian Innovation and Technology Agencies. Could you please explain what makes this partnership unique?
When we work in a specific country or in a region, we always try to operate or work in collaboration with both public and private partners. And this is one more example of that. And in this case specifically, the partnership is very strong and it has been working for many years, and we hope and expect that it will prolong for many years to come. Because on one hand, we do have the collaboration of the government through GITA that allows us to support the acceleration program that we run in Tbilisi, which is very important so that we can attract founders from a very broad region to come here and try and show Georgia as a tech hub. So that's very valuable. And on the other hand, we have the private sector with the Bank of Georgia and a few other family offices that are also working with us, but the Bank of Georgia has been there from the beginning and is the key private partner in this whole partnership. That helps us not just with capital, so that we can invest in these companies that we train, but with a series of other things around brand building and media and community building. The bank has definitely gone and continues going beyond the expectations. They invest a lot more in terms of content and community building outside what was expected from the partnership. And so we're very proud that we were able to strike this relationship with both, and we'll continue it for many years.
Pedro, what's the difference between 500 Georgia's acceleration program and GITA's matching grants program?
They work in tandem. So GITA's grants, as in other countries, allow the country to create momentum at a very early layer of entrepreneurship. They're meant for companies that are just starting, founders that are trying to figure out if their idea has commercial viability. So it is very important to create what we say volume in the top of the funnel. So many companies at the very early beginnings, and then from those companies, some will actually succeed and progress with their development in terms of product and business. And those are usually the ones that are good fit for our accelerator. So they complement each other, and we expect that those synergies will continue over time.
Pedro, what is the process like for a startup to get into 500 Georgia's acceleration program?
There's different ways to do it. The most obvious is to go and apply through our website. The applications are open all year round. Anyone can apply at any time now, regardless if we're doing a batch or between batches. We're always continuously reviewing applications. That's the easiest. 500 Georgia, anyone who Googles 500 Georgia will find our site as the top result. Then there's the informal way to get it, either through myself or our personal network of mentors, our team on the ground. Usually that's a process that investors prefer indeed, because it's a warm introduction. We know that these founders, these companies already met someone in our network, and we also take a look at those investments through those informal networks.
Pedro, what are the requirements for a startup in order to qualify for 500 Georgia Acceleration Program? What stages are you looking at?
We invest in what we call pre-seed and seed stage. And what that means is we're looking at companies that already have a product built. It can be a prototype, but it has to be a functional prototype. And ideally already trying to sell it or have users for it on the market. There's few exceptions where sometimes we get companies that are pre-revenue, as we say, but we like to see companies that are already starting to generate revenue. That's one. So we like to see a product or a prototype. We don't invest in just a PowerPoint and an idea. Then with that product and prototype, we start looking at other things. We obviously look at the market opportunity. So is that company trying to solve something that's really meaningful? In what we use to measure that is we look at how many people in the world or how many companies in the world or in our region actually suffer from that problem, and how much would they pay to get the problem solved. And if the multiplication of those two numbers is big, that tells us it is an interesting opportunity to invest in. And then we look at the founders, and we try to make sure that they have what we call founder market fit. Is that team of founders the right team to solve that problem? We know the product that I mentioned earlier may evolve, things will change over time, market conditions can change over time. So it's important that the founders already know the space, already know that industry, and can adjust with those moving conditions. And these are always the three things we look at. Then we interview the companies and we do a lot of due diligence on them, in their numbers, in their technology. But at the end of the day, size of the market opportunity, strength of the founding team, and a little bit of the product they already have are the three key things when we look at the companies.
All right, let's assume there is a company that has all these three parameters that you mentioned. What's going to happen next? What does your acceleration program entail? What do you work on with startups? And in general, what is this process like? How long does it take, and etc.?
Yeah. So between that process of looking at the selection criteria and starting the program, we still have an intense selection process. We have hundreds and hundreds of applications for usually 10 to 15 slots. And that selection process includes many things, many interviews with different people in our team, different experts in analysis of the numbers that the companies have to show. Once they are selected for our training program and investment, then we start the program. The program is a 3-month program, and it is designed with a hybrid model with some weeks in person, some weeks working remote, and it's designed that way so that we can, again, attract founders from other regions without having them move all their teams here, at least not at the beginning. So we have 2 weeks in person when we start the program, where we train the founders and we work with them in things that are foundational for the growth of the company. That includes things like customer development, business development, marketing. Then they take those learnings and they go home or to their operational centers for 2 months, where they continue getting the full-time support from our mentors and myself, and we do with them what we call growth experiments. So trying many different things in many different areas of the company to see what is it that will spur growth, where is it that is going to help their companies go faster. And when they find something that works faster, they just start implementing that over and over and over, and they go on to move to other parts of the business that may not be growing that fast. After those 2 months of what we call growth experimentation and growth period, they come back for 2 weeks at the end of the program, of those 3 months of program, to work with us mostly on fundraising and fundraising strategy in preparation for the demo day. We wrap up the 3 months with a demo day. It's important to give them extra visibility, introduce them to other investors and other potential clients. But those 2 weeks are focused not just on preparation for demo day, but preparing them for their fundraising life post-program, which is critical for them and critical for us as an early stage investor. So we talk with them about how to fundraise, who do they fundraise from, what materials do they need to have to fundraise, how do they talk to the investors, how do they negotiate with the investors. So that's the wrap-up of the program for the 3 months. And then post-program, post-demo day, we have a portfolio value team and ourselves that together we help these companies in the months following the program. Lots of emphasis still on fundraising and how do they get more investors, but also support on sales and marketing and how do they continue the momentum that we give them with the program, how do they continue that for the next months, years ahead.
Pedro, 500 Global is one of the leading startup accelerators in the world. Could you share some numbers and some statistics?
500 is definitely a powerhouse in investment. It started more than 10 years ago in Silicon Valley as an early stage investment fund, so focused on the pre-seed and seed stages that I was mentioning earlier. but now has evolved to be a multi-stage investment company. We have funds that invest at all stages of growth of the startups. We have close to 2.5 billion in assets under management. We have close to 3,000 companies in our portfolio, more than 5,000 founders for those companies. Our investment footprint now covers more than 80 countries or around 80 countries, and we're proud that Caucasus Central Asia is now a big part of that. We have around 30 to 40 unicorns, and about half of that, and that's a very interesting fact for what we're trying to, or important fact for what we're trying to do here in Georgia in the region, is about half of that, 40 to 50% of those unicorns are non-US companies. And so that to us shows us that there's tremendous potential in these emerging markets, and we're very happy that this is one of those that we're working on now.
Pedro, throughout the years, as you just mentioned, 500 Global tutored and mentored a lot of companies. A lot of companies went through the acceleration process. Could you share a success story, one of the biggest companies, whatever you like, to just explain and show better, what 500 Global does?
Yeah, I mean, we have several of companies in these emerging markets, for example, where we took the company through the acceleration program and then help them grow as a unicorn, or in some cases as a decacorn. We, to be honest, avoid picking one or another over them because, like I said, we have close to 30, 35 unicorns. But I can tell you that there's companies in our family of funds and family of accelerators like Canva and others that became well-known brands after having worked with us in our programs.
Pedro, thank you very much for your time. I really hope that this interview will help a lot of founders, and finally we can have a unicorn here in Georgia soon.
Me too. It's always a pleasure to be here and share what we're doing with you and your audience. Thank you so much for having me.
And that's all for today. I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. This year for Georgia showed once again that it is always worth striving towards the main goal.
Georgia has been granted a candidate status. On this historic day, the European Union and our member states have one message to the people of Georgia.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch, Georgien.
Grattis, Georgien.
Herzlichen Glückwunsch, Georgien.
Félicitations à la Géorgie.
Tillykke, Georgien.
Gefeliciteerd, Georgië.
Sveikinimai, Sakartvelo.
Συγχαρητήρια, Γεωργία.
Enhorabuena, Georgia. Pozdravlение, Gruzija i čestitke.
Congratulazioni, Georgia.
Gratulálunk, Georgia.
Blahoželám, Gruzínsko.
Apsveicam.
Wszystkiego najlepszego, Gruzjo.
Felicitări, Georgia. Blahopřeji.
Palju õnne, Georgia.
Gilotsav Sakartvelo.
some motivation, and for BMG, the same again. Our expansion to the US and Azerbaijan are only the first steps towards more internationalization of Business Media Georgia Group. All the best wishes and deserved holidays. See you in 2024.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.